All right, well, we're doing just a few thank yous to get started before we get into everything. Want to say, first off, absolutely a huge thank you to all the parents, not only for just this wonderful display tonight, but all throughout the year, and for a lot of you guys all throughout the last 4 years. It's been quite the journey through a lot of different things. When you kind of sit back and think about it, you had some weird COVID things, you had this, you had that, but we couldn't be more thankful for a group of parents, not just the senior parents, but all parents in particular, for being supportive, for being willing to do above and beyond anything that we ever could possibly imagine. And you'll never know how much that actually means to us. I'm sure your kids will probably never tell you how much it actually means to them. But deep down, it's something that we're truly blessed with. To the other assistant coaches that are up here, sitting here, Coach Mark was not able to make it today. But these guys put in hours upon hours away from their families, which most of them, I think are okay with it. Everybody's got little kids up here, so time away is not a bad thing. But and I should say that for the families who are at home with their kids, there's a lot that goes into this. These guys do a wonderful job. You say it every year at the banquet, but it goes without saying. I truly believe that these guys have the best interests of the kids at heart. And it's not just about being good football players, it's about being good young men, being good students, just being good people to be around. And we probably spent more time this year trying to talk about those things, trying to help in whatever way we can with a variety of different things. I think young men these days have a little more going on than maybe what they did 10, 15 years ago. I think we've reflected upon that as coaches and kind of looked at different ways in which we can try to foster leadership, ways in which we can foster growth. And these guys do a great job with that. And any of these guys will do anything that they possibly could to help make your son successful in what they're doing. To our school administration, I know there's a few of you out in the crowd there, but as a football coach, as a head coach, I couldn't be more thankful for to be involved with a school that puts student athletes first, puts their well-being, but also their happiness first. These guys, whether it be Mr. Walter, Mr. Kurz back there, Mr. Thornburg, any of these guys do a wonderful job of trying to, make football a big deal, and they fight a lot of battles for us when we're not necessarily able to fight them. To Dennis and Bill, the guys have done stats for 350 years. You can't read Dennis' writing at all, so when you start looking at these stats and whether or not, I'm doing the best I can. They do a wonderful job. I know they love what they do, but it is, I am so thankful for that. Hillary and Danny were our trainers this year. Both of them did a wonderful job, really carrying not only the physical, but the mental side of things for some young men. And did a wonderful job, I thought, as the year went on. Sherry, Maggie, and our cheerleaders, all sorts of different things that they did, whether it be homecoming stuff, just every game with such a positive vibe. I know Dave's going to talk about this a little bit, but Scott Wonderlick and Jay Miller went above and beyond doing the end zone. Jay did the end zone filming. Scott did a ton of things with filming and just kind of tech troubleshooting. It makes it a lot easier for us. I'm not tech savvy in the least bit. Steph is worse than I am. It goes worse as you go down the road several days. It's like the shining light of tech. But for those guys who be willing to do that and to try to find ways to make it special, we're certainly blessed with that. Melanie, my gosh, the pictures are wonderful. I mean, there's 175 pictures of every game out there. Went back and looked through some, trying to find some pictures for something we're going to do online a little bit after the banquet. truly amazing. So talented with doing that, and I have to mention Billy Gerling as well in this with the poster shoots. What she does during Meet the Bowling night with doing the team pictures, she deserves a special place in heaven for that, because that is a disaster. Nobody wants to be there. It's hot. Nobody can get their uniforms right. We have all sorts of other issues. People forget their forms, this, that, whatnot. Absolutely wonderful job with that. All the volunteers that help make football on Friday nights something, and on Monday nights, whether it be our chain gang guys, the guys that work in the press box, all of you who have volunteered for concession stand duty when no one really wants to sit in the concession stand, but you do it anyways. Truly appreciate that. Our bus drivers, Tom and Roger did most of the bus driving, and Tammy and Patty helped along with. I think we're truly blessed with those guys. I mean, not only are you getting Tom yelling at every official and listening to AC/DC for 3 hours nonstop there and back, but just to do a wonderful job. And to our players, we'll talk more about you a little bit later, but like I said, you guys made this year fun, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty here in a second. With that, we're going to transition over to Coach Pearson. He's going to give a JV recap.
Bear with me. I haven't given one of these in a few years. It's usually Coach Martin. So the other thing is I'm going to try to get through it quickly so we can move on to the rest of the segment. I would reiterate the thanks to Scott with handling some of the huddle and the tech stuff. It's not very often you're involved in a football program where we're going to a clinic in, I believe, February, and we're doing a huddle system check to make sure things are smooth in August. And Scott dedicated some time to that. We did a huddle thing. So it's just a lot of behind the scenes things with the huddle setup and the tech stuff that there's a reason that it runs smoothly. It's because people miss time and make sure that it happens that way. And Jay, I don't even have to communicate anymore. I just know that he's going to show up and run the camera and just make sure it's set up and ready to go, and he just handles it. So that's one less thing to worry about on a Friday night. It's a big help for the big picture. And then the action shots are awesome. I look forward to when those get uploaded and scroll through all the pictures. It actually helps me coaching wise because it points out a lot of the bad technique or offensive line. And also the good that might be good to point out. So that's always good. As far as the JV season goes, I think I tried to encapsulate it in one statement. A lot of fundamental improvement, which is exactly what we want at the JV level. It's not always about the wins and losses, although they do keep score, and we want to be competitive and try to win and try to build that toughness and competitiveness at the JV level. It's also about getting better at the positions that you play. And I think as the season went on and as we had our, most of the time it kind of felt like a sermon at the end of each game, talking about like the specific things from that game that we didn't do well that we need to work on practice the next week. That grind and process, I think, as the season went on, we got better and better and better. And sometimes it's not reflected in the scoreboard, but if we look at the big picture, we've made a lot of improvement. So, so the last thing I have here is for the JV guys is to take advantage of the opportunities that are available to you. So you have 1 or 2 years, or 3, depending on what age, or 2 or 3 years, depending on what age you are, sophomore, freshman, of opportunity ahead of you. And your choices and what you choose to do with those opportunities will determine how good of a football player you can be. There's some core ingredients I feel that are, if we're just specific to football, core ingredients to being a really good football player. And that's speed, strength, competitiveness, and toughness. Those 4 things. And I've always been a believer of your actions speak louder than your words. So the challenge for the JV guys is, what are you going to do between now and the start of next season to build those 4 areas? So that's the challenge for you moving forward, and your choices in those areas will determine how you do. That's it.
transition a little bit here to talk about some of the varsity things. I think one of the biggest things, and this kind of came across in doing a lot of the postseason interviews that we did, but it was generally a fun group to be around. Now, I usually sit up here at banquets and say that every group was a fun year to be around, and they are all fun, but some are more fun than others. I will say that this group was an extremely fun group to be around because of the young men that they were, because of what they stood for, mostly because of the attitude. We spend a lot of time, whether it's in film or whether it's on the practice field or whatever we're doing, and I mean, you can't just run plays the whole time. You have to interact with them, and I tell you what, this was a fun group to be around. Whether it be the older guys who had their own little thing, whether it be the younger guys who were like, we're all out there and doing everything, and we're all over the place, but my gosh, there wasn't a lot of time when we were like screaming or yelling. There were sometimes, but not a lot of times where there was screaming or yelling at somebody to do this or somebody to do that. And I think it just made for a fun vibe. It made practice go faster, it made films go faster, it made all those other things. And I'm going to kind of talk about the seniors with this, but one of the things that they did the best job of, and I'll include the juniors as well, is really trying to create like this team vibe. We've had years past where it was pretty clear divided. You had seniors, you had freshmen, you had sophomores, you had juniors, somewhere in the mix there. You'd be hard pressed if you came out to a practice and watched this year to figure out which grade everybody was in. And our older guys get a ton of credit for doing that. That's completely on them. And one of the things I think when we look back on it, and I watched earlier this week, I just popped in a few of the game films from earlier in the year, and I was really impressed with how much improvement that we made from the start of the season to the end of the season. Now, there's all sorts of reasons for that, but the main one is the coachability of the guys, how much they listened, how much they were willing to adapt to different things that we tried to do, and so they get a ton of credit for that. For the guys who are coming back, Coach Pearson kind of mentioned this a little bit, but set goals. Whatever goal you have coming back, whatever you want to do with it, that's your goal and that's your role. And we're going to move into, it'll be a different district, very well could be a different class. Who knows what the future is going to hold, but I challenge you guys that are coming back, and we'll have 51 of you that are, can come back and play football again next year. Challenge yourself. What do you want to do? What do you want to do as an individual? What do you want to do as a team? And all the things that Coach Pearson mentioned about representing yourself well, as an athlete, making yourself a better athlete, making yourself a better student, reflecting positively in the community. All those different things are right in front of you. So that's the challenge. We got a lot of guys, we'll have a lot of guys coming back that have varsity experience, we have a lot of guys that do not. And, we're going to have to figure out a way for you guys, who's going to step up and who wants to be the dude. And I'm excited to see where we go with that. One of the things that, when I was talking with Anthony and his Anthony, Ben, and Owen were in there, they decided to do a three-person exit interview, which was uncharacteristic. It turned out fun. One of the things they said was, you always say at the banquet, like, time's going to fly by, and we kind of look at you like you're dumb and this and that, or you can do these things. And then they were like, but it really does. It really goes by fast. And I can't stress that enough for you guys that have more years of football left to go. It's going to roll. It's going to roll quick. It just goes from one to the next. So don't leave. You don't want to be leaving here with any sort of regrets. So I don't care if you're a freshman, a junior, a sophomore, whatever, anybody in between there. Okay, don't sit and say, I wish I would have. It's better to say I tried it and I failed at it than I wish I would have. So that's my challenge for you guys. Seniors. My gosh, thanks for really all that you've done for the program. You've been involved for a lot of different things, and you guys in particular in your class have been very, very important contributors for really 4 solid years of football. You're going to to be hard pressed to find a group of guys that have had more success on the field as a class. You're going to be hard pressed to find a better group of guys off the field. And I think that's probably what I'm most proud about is, you know, man, this group of dudes, you guys had each other's back. You were supportive of each other. You were hard on each other when you needed to be. You were mean to each other when it was funny, and mean to each other when it wasn't. But ultimately, like, and you guys saw it at the end of, you know, the last game of the year, I think, is a great example of how, even when things didn't go well, we're there to pick each other up. And that's this group to a T. Outstanding leadership. I give them a lot of credit for a lot of things, you know, that we were able to accomplish this year. Most importantly, I give them credit for whatever the culture is of this group, which was extremely positive. That comes from them. They're the ones who interact on the practice field. They're the ones who interact with everybody. In the locker rooms, they're the ones on the buses, whatever it might be. There's only so many times where, as coaches, we're in front of them. These guys did a wonderful job of being leaders. And with that, as you guys move on to whatever the next stages of your life are, and gosh knows we've had a lot of talks about what we're going to do with our life. Not a lot of answers, but we're getting there. You know, believe in yourselves and attack everything just the same way you attack playing football. You set goals, work hard at it, and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, roll with something else. Okay? And I'm excited to see what you guys do. Enjoy the rest of this year. You know, as you guys are seniors in high school, enjoy the rest of it because it's going to go by real fast. You know, make sure you don't, like you said with the younger guys, make sure there's no I wish I would have. Accomplish what you want to accomplish. Have fun and enjoy it because the rest of your life will be the rest of your life, and it's not all it's cracked up. You know, it's not all roses and sunshine when you leave here. So, you know, make the most of it and enjoy the time you get to spend with each other because this will be the last time you'll ever do it. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but that's the reality of what's going to happen. So, let's give these guys a round of applause for a wonderful season. Now we're going to get to the awards, the real fun things. This is when all the pictures and the magic happens. So here's what we're going to do. Okay, I need for these two awards, we need to line up from freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. If you don't know what grade you're in, ask a friend. Okay, line out from all the way down there, freshmen, all the way back for here, seniors. We can do both. so the awards that these guys have here, as Coach Sherman's still passing some out, everybody here received a state football award. Kyle, why don't you hold that up so the crowd can see it? That one. It's a state football award for making the state football playoffs in the round of 16, and a medal that goes along with that. The other award is one that we're really proud of as a team. And so our team GPA this year was 3.389, so we'll round up to 3.39. That puts us in a distinguished academic award as a team. So we're really excited about that, and you'll see individually all the good work that these guys have done in the classroom. So let's give them a round of applause here real quick. I'm going to stay up here real quick and wait until Coach Sherman gets everything passed out, make sure everybody gets what they need to do, otherwise it's crazy. All right, we're up there now. Let's give these guys one more big round of applause for not only an outstanding football season awards, but also academic. All right, y'all can sit down. Okay, as we're getting these awards passed out, these were our sophomore varsity letter winners. All of them did a wonderful job throughout the year. Everybody kind of had different roles. Logan played primarily on the defensive line at the JV level and on a lot of special teams. Jackson started on the offensive line and played guard and center. Alton played linebacker from the start of it. I was also on a lot of different special teams. Noah was kind of rotated in at running back and was on all the special teams as well too. Braden played on a bunch of special teams and was also rotated in the defensive line and a little bit at wingback. And Jacob was started out at center and then unfortunately had a leg injury there. I can't remember what week that was, but it was about 2/3 of the way through the season. These guys did a wonderful job. We were really blessed this year to have 23 sophomores out for football, which is a crazy high number. We're really excited about what that group as a whole can do. And we're really excited about what these guys here with probably having the most varsity experience coming back, what they can do going forward. So let's give them a round of applause. You guys can go ahead and sit down. Let's bring up the junior letter winners. Aiden and Logan, Drew, Cam, Ben, Jackson, Gavin, Brady, Chet, Quit, Joe, and Kyle. Come on up. Okay, these guys were a junior award letter winners from this past year. We'll start down the end there with Joe. Joe was able to, Joe played on the offensive and defensive lines, improved a lot throughout the season, and I will say this, one of the things while these guys are passing on awards, one of the things that is the unsung, and it's kind of one of it really is a thing, is playing scout team. Some of these guys up here were scout team all-stars. Some of the guys that just sat down were scout team all-stars. I think what made this year more fun was that our scout team took a little bit of a swagger to them. We were going out, we were talking a lot of smack, we had a lot of hearts, and you know, we're always trying to run the other team's plays, and we're looking off a card, and the cards aren't drawn real well because I'm racing through them, and these guys do a wonderful job with that. The guys who, and this goes to our freshmen and sophomores, as well as these guys as well. Quentin, next guy in line there, Quentin played defensive, he was kind of a linebacker, safety type player. Also played some offensive line. We asked Quentin to, you know, to hop in on the offensive line. He'd never played it before, but did a good job with that. We'll talk a little bit more about Chet and Jackson later, but both these guys had did an outstanding job throughout the season. Ben with one shoulder, now two good shoulders. I'll give Ben Walter a ton of credit. You guys have no idea what he went through this year. Really starting from the beginning of the year, if you looked at him wrong, his shoulder fell out of joint. And you want to talk about one tough kid, I cannot say enough for him. I witnessed at least a couple times holding his hand while he popped his shoulder back in a joint on his own. And really never said anything, just said I need a few minutes to shake some things out, and he hopped right back in there. But you know, the other thing that Ben did this year, which goes unnoticed, is during the games after he was injured, he had an iPad, and after every drive we would go, after a lot of the drives, I would talk with Ben about what he saw. This was while he was still able to write. He would write down some things, and you know, really did an outstanding job of continuing to be involved even when the injury happened. I couldn't say enough about what he brought to the team during and after his injury. Aiden played receiver for us. I'll give Aiden a ton of credit as far as a guy that I've never seen in 1 week. There was the Regina week. For 3 days, Aiden couldn't catch anything. There was nothing. He couldn't catch a pass. You handed him the ball, he dropped it. He looked at the ball, it dropped. And it was brutal, man. And everybody kind of looked at him like, what's wrong with you? And then, you know, we talked, and we were like, hey, we got this. And then he came out and had the best game of his season on that night. And it just goes to show, like, you know, what type of young man he is, and also the ability to, you know, to make plays. Logan had a really interesting year. We've never had a kid do cross country and football at the same time, and I couldn't even imagine what that was like for Logan and running to 3 miles, 3.1. Yeah, running 3.1 miles on Thursday and then coming back and playing football on Friday. Did a wonderful job. Literally, if half of these guys had to even think about running 3.1 miles, they'd be down at Great River, in a training room, laying there dead. If Cole had to think about running 800 meters, he'd be laying there thinking about that he's dead. Gavin played a lot of. Gavin played offense a little bit and was primarily defense and special teams guy. Gavin did a wonderful job this year. Was a big role in our scout team, and you know, was really excited about the progress that he made. Grady's Grady. No, Grady did a wonderful job. Played outside linebacker, safety type position for us. Another extremely tough kid. Did a lot of things that we asked for him to do. Was on a ton of different special teams, and had a wonderful year. Cam, nobody on this team talks more smack than Cam Stoller. It's so true. Right now he's looking quiet like that, but Cam made football a ton of fun this year, especially in practice because of what he was able to bring as far as, he wasn't afraid to go after anybody as far as talking smack and doing those different things. Cam played a little bit of linebacker and also played fullback for a few games in the middle of the year there. And then Kyle, last thing I'll say about Kyle is nobody talked more smack on the field than what Kyle did. Kyle had a great year. We'll talk about some of the accomplishments there. But these guys as juniors, super excited about what they brought to the table this year. And I know that these guys are going to fill in and have a great senior year next year. So let's give them a round of applause. And we'll have our seniors and JJ. Why don't you come on up? If you're short of any of the bars or footballs or letters, we have plenty in my office. If something is wrong that you got, we can get it figured out. These were our seniors for this year. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit about each of them and try to have something fun and then try to have something that's maybe a little more heartfelt or more just fun. So in no particular order, we'll start with JJ down here at the end. You see that big smile on JJ's face? That is him. And JJ showed up. He was kind of Coach Martin's gator riding buddy for a lot of the year. And JJ has been with us for a couple years now, helping out. Always super excited to be here, super happy to be a part of the team. And we're going to miss him next year. He did an outstanding job. Thank you, JJ. We're going down the list. My notes are all over the place here. We'll just go right up with Levi here. So here's my thing about Levi. I would say Levi probably, over his 4 years of football, I'd kind of describe him as kind of like the Energizer Bunny. He was always going, maybe not always in the right direction, but he was always going. And he had, kind of a constant motor. I was most proud about Levi is how much he grew as a leader. For his first 3 years, he was mostly to himself, and he really grew as a leader, became more confident. You can see this year him reaching out and helping younger people. And that's something that is truly a sign a sign of growth from a young man. The other thing I'll say about Levi is I have never seen maybe minus Logan, I have never seen a person wear more layers of clothes during a football game or practice than Levi does. I mean, it's 65 degrees outside, wearing a hooded sweatshirt with 3 layers. I don't want to be cold, Coach. I don't like being cold. Levi's played a lot of varsity football for us and did a wonderful job. Next up, we got Braxton. So my thing with Braxton, and what I always thought about Braxton is the amount of, what's the word? It's stick-to-itiveness. I think that's a word, I don't know. That might be. The amount of a guy who continued to work hard, continued to push, continued to, really kind of battle. And it wasn't always like sunshines and lollipops and everything happening between with him. But he grew as a young man and he grew as a player. His hair continued to grow and grow and grow, and it's this wonderful mane going down the back, and then it was gone. He just cut it off without telling anybody it was gone. Braxton did a wonderful job throughout his senior year, and it really was a great teammate, a good leader for younger guys. Somebody that I think really related well to everyone. Old Anthony. All right, so Anthony is obviously one of the best players probably to come through here. I think one of the toughest dudes, yeah, right? One of the toughest guys I've ever met. There was never a year that went by with Anthony where he didn't have something wrong with him. And even when he didn't have something wrong with him, he said he had something wrong with him. Like, my thumb is going to fall off, or my leg, my hip, I got a rib injury, I got this or that. But one of the things that I think with Anthony that makes him special is how humble and caring he was. It's easy when you have as much success on the field. You would think that it would be easy to get a big head and be cocky and this and that, but he was not. He was humble, he was coachable. He still has been unable to catch 2 punts in a row, though, during practice. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But Anthony had an outstanding career, and like I said, he's no doubt one of the better players that we've had here. Josh is next. I don't give Josh a ton of credit. I knew Josh when he was younger, and then he went away, and he came back. One of the things that you got to appreciate about Josh is he spent, 9 weeks practicing football without even having any hope of getting in the game. And he never missed a practice, never late for a practice, never once I'm going to go over to the water thing and kind of stand there and spray myself, or, my helmet's kind of broken, or here or there, or whatnot. He was in every drill, doing everything as hard as he could, and I think that says a lot for Josh as a young man, as an athlete. He's going to do some great things this year, going forward. And I think just as a young man going forward, I think this is a great experience for him to go through, and we're very excited that he was able to be a part of it. All right, Zay. Got lots of things here with you, Zay. No. I thought, as far as Zay goes, he kind of came about halfway through the year last year, and then this year, you flashed your defensive back skills, get some interceptions, and really what you saw in that Wilton game was exactly what we see in practice. Zay's always trying to pick off the pass, even when he's supposed to be rushing the quarterback. He's still trying to get after the pass or to catch the pass. The other thing, if you watch film of Zay, he's got more moves on the football field than I don't know if it's like a dancing or it's it is something, man. They're all over gyrating, you got hips going everywhere, arms are flailing. Sometimes it looks like he's been shot, but sometimes he's just pulling out. But no, Zay did a great job, and I thought it was a great addition to this group of seniors. These guys that have been together for a long time. Zay kind of fit right in. All right, Cole, here we go. So with Cole, obviously it wasn't the senior year that what Cole was probably hoping for, but I was really impressed with his resiliency. And you want to talk about, the ups and downs, not on the football field, but just emotionally and all those different things from, what happened, and then talking with him, and then, seeing him in a really, really low spot to him in a much higher and happier spot to all the way in between. Cole kind of ran the gamut of emotions this year. Cole is one of the biggest, I'm not going to swear, but he's one of the biggest smart alecks I've ever been around. It is such a dry sense of humor. You ask him a question, you're going to get the honest answer, which I appreciate, but he says it in a way that's kind of snarky and a lot of sass with him as well, too. And I know how much Cole loves conditioning and how much he loves to run and these sort of things. One of the things, after he came back from his injury, we ran the first practice he came back, we did warm-ups. We did our stretching line, where He literally is jogging across the field 3 times. And he's hands on his knees. I gotta get a drink. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be a long road to recovery here because we're having a hard time with this. But I was happy for Cole that he was able to come back and finish out his senior year in a way that, I know it wasn't quite what he had hoped for, but he should still be proud of himself for what he brought to the team and everything else with that. Ben, hands down, this was my 16th year of doing this. Definitely one of the smartest players I've ever coached, and one of the best leaders I've ever coached. Hands down, cared about every single person on the team, wanted to do so well, and really had a great year with this. He's also hands down one of the worst DJs I've ever seen. His playlist stunk. It was not good. No, it wasn't good. Nobody liked it, and that's why we had to commandeer this thing halfway through the year and listen to music that was actually sounded like music. What's that? Yeah, there's a reason why we never brought his things in here. It was shunned upon. Ben had a great year. I couldn't be more proud of him and what he brought to the team. Outstanding young man, going to do great things going forward. And then there's Owen. Well, there's Owen at the end. Owen had a great year as well. I thought Owen grew tremendously as a young man. Really matured a lot from his freshman, sophomore, junior years into his senior year. And Owen really grew as a leader. I think was way more vocal about things, was very respectful of his teammates, and was a good teammate. Owen definitely also set the record. And I know sometimes it's hard. You'll never see it unless you just sit there and watch tape. There was more times this year where you look back and you kind of watch film and you're just watching and you're like, what just happened over there? And it was usually like Owen and another dude in some sort of like a kung fu fighting match, way 30 yards away from the ball. Really no particular reason at all, but we love that about Owen that he showed up. If I wasn't going to block him well, or he was going to block him well and not block him well, who's going to fight him? And try to throw him down the ground throughout the year. And Owen did a great job with that. And then there leaves Trent. All right. So here's my thing with Trent, and I think everybody can kind of agree with this. Trent's a unique individual. One of the things I would say about Trent, which I think probably goes without saying, or that is how much of a team player he was. Trent played he played 2 different positions on defense, 2 different positions on offense, and not one time did he just, yeah, I'll do it. And there was not a guy that I could think of that cared more about the success of the team throughout the season than what Trent did. He did a lot of things. He did a lot of things that no one ever saw. He did a lot of things that kind of the dirty work in a lot of different areas. He was also a guy that I think brought a little bit of a reality to it. Just kind of like Cole and some of his arguments, you can ask Trent exactly what he's thinking, and he'll tell you. Now, we'll end with this story with this crew, because this involves Trent, and it also involves Levi. These guys, way back when they were in 3rd grade, we decided we were going to expand Little Bulldog football camp to, we'll get 3rd graders involved. Yeah, why not? Because we need more things. And at about 10 minutes into the first Little Bulldog football camp, I looked over at Coach Steffner, and he's turning about beet red, and I'm like, oh, this is a terrible idea. And I know this is going to go as a shocker, but we were having a hard time getting along with each other. Things weren't going well. There was fighting involved. There was not a lot of listening. At one point in time, I think Trent and Levi had to go sit down in timeout for a little while because they weren't getting along. We say that because they've come a long way. At no point in time this year did anybody have to go into timeout. We've all grown past that. It's a wonderful group of guys. You guys as parents should be super proud of the young men that are up here. Let's give them a big round of applause. All right, more awards. I need the following people to come up: Jackson, Alton, Ben, Kyle, Ben Egan, Joe Sharp, Quentin Schultz, Aiden Nelson, Drew Miller, Noah Schmidtwall, Jackson Hutchison, Cole Lipper, Braxton Davis, Anthony Isaac. Alright, so these guys were honored for being academic all-district. And so to be considered for academic all-district, you have to be a varsity letter winner. You have to be a varsity letter winner and have a cumulative 3.5 or higher grade point average. So these guys did a wonderful job in the classroom, obviously on the football field as well. Let's just give these guys a round of applause. We're going to go 2 steps. We asked these guys to do a lot of different things, and we preach being good students in the classroom. I will say there's a ton of other guys that were just below a 3.5, so that's something to shoot for as it goes into next year. I did want to take this opportunity to mention Reese Campbell, Jared Kerr, Max Ortiz, and then Ben and Noah up here all have a 4.0 GPA. Well, at least they did to start the year. We'll see if we still do afterwards. But let's give them a round of applause for that as well. You guys go ahead and sit. Now we're going to move on to the All-District Awards. Now, if you are an All-District Award member, do not leave here tonight without your medal. I have to go grab it. It's up in my classroom. We'll get you your certificates, but don't leave until I come back and grab that too. I need Brady, Braxton, and Cole to come on up. Okay, Brady and Braxton were recognized as honorable mention all-district this year. Obviously, both of them had an outstanding year on the defensive side of the football, did a lot of different things for us. Cole's standing here because he was the recipient of the Golden Award. Those of you may ask, what in the world is the Golden Award? It's an award that our district decided to create 2 years ago for a player that was an all-district caliber of player, which obviously Cole was, that was unable to play or that had to miss a chunk of games because of injury. And these guys did a lot of good things. To highlight with Cole, as I went through and looked at the record books, I'm just going to read these. This is on the back of the Excel sheet that we have there. Cole is, for career fumble recoveries, is tied for 4th with 5. He's number 8 in Mediapolis history with career receptions with 52. Tied for 7th with career touchdown receptions with 8. Listen, if these are off by a little bit, we went through them real quickly here. We tried to get him as close to where we're at as possible. He's number 8 with career sacks with 10.5, and he is tied for 10th for season touchdown receptions, and that happened this year with 5. So let's give these guys a round of applause. Great job. All right, next up on the docket, we need Trent, Levi, and Alton. These guys were honored as second team all-district, and really thought we had a very competitive district. There was a lot of good players that were throughout, and so when you get to the voting process of things, it kind of is what it is. Obviously, we talked about Trent. Alden, we didn't really talk much about him, but Alden finished second on the team with 71 tackles. Did an outstanding job as a sophomore. Trent was one of the leaders in sacks for us, as well as did an outstanding job of blocking, and then Levi on the defensive line as well. Levi, season or career things, Levi's played a lot of varsity football. He cracked the top 10 in a couple different things. Levi is tied for 4th career fumble recoveries with 5. That's a fun one. Tied for 5th career tackles for loss with 35, and is tied with a bunch of other dudes in the top 10, or at number 10, with career sacks with 9. So let's give these guys a round of applause. Go ahead and sit down. Alrighty, we need Jackson, Kyle, Ben, Owen, Chet, and Anthony. All right, these guys were recognized as first team all districts by the coaches in Class 1A, District 5. We'll start with Chad down at the end there. Chad led our team in total tackles this year. And Chad's also, and one of the things, when you look back at the stats that have been kept from Mediapolis history, it's kind of a hodgepodge of trying to crack these archives and this and that. But one stat that was, I think, fairly correct throughout was tackles in the season and career tackles. And Chet has moved himself up to 14th on the list of career total tackles, and it's quite the list of people. Chet also, I believe, well, he was one short of his brother this year of Wyatt for tackles in the season, but did a great job with that, and really had an outstanding season. Jackson was a first-team all-district defensive back. Had a wonderful, really had a wonderful season throughout. Jackson is tied for second in single-season interceptions at Mediapolis with 5, and also tied for 6 with career interceptions with 6. So there's some different things that he can kind of shoot for going forward. Kyle was a first-team all-district defensive lineman. He really could have either been either side of the ball. Defensively, though, he is 4th for season tackles for loss with 20.5 this year, which is a ton of tackles for loss, and he did a wonderful job with that. And that also he's 8th career-wise tackle for loss with 32. Ben was first-team all-district defensive back. Ben had a lot of different awards, tied for second for season fumble recoveries with 3. You'd feel like he'd be higher than that. That's where we're at. Tied for 7th in single season interceptions with 4. Surpassed his dad for number 8 with career passing touchdowns with 15. He was tied for 10th career interceptions and career fumble returns. So Ben had a wonderful season there. Owen, they don't give a lot of stats for offensive linemen as far as top 10 goes, but Owen had a heck of a year and did a lot of good things there. Was one of the leaders of our team in what we call pancake blocks, which are kind of like taking a guy from their feet to their back, one way, shape, or form or the other. We didn't really get into the technicalities of it, but Owen did a great job with that. And then we had 2 district MVPs. Drew Miller was under the weather, not able to be here today, was the district MVP punter, and obviously very deserving of that. And then Anthony was the district MVP B for offensive utility. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but he was up. Did you win that last year? Two-time offensive utility player of the year. Anthony obviously did a lot of special things throughout the season and career. He set the school record in career rush yards with 3,984. The single season school record in rush yards with 1,513. The career rushing touchdown leader with 44. He's also the career leader in kickoff return average at 34.2. He is tied for a single season kickoff return touchdowns with 2. Tied for career kickoff return touchdowns with 3. He's number 2 in career tackles for loss with 43.5. Number 3 in single season rushing touchdowns this year with 19. Number 4 with career kickoff return yards at 583. Number 4 at season kickoff return yards average at 32.4 yards, and career punt return yards at 304. So a lot of good things with Anthony there, like we mentioned at the start. Had an outstanding career, and those are some really, really good players that he was able to pass up on, especially the rushing and the tackles for loss stuff. So let's give these guys all a big round of applause. And last but not least, I need Ben and Cole to come back in. Ben and Cole. Unfortunately, I do not have a certificate for this, but these 2 young men are academic all-state football players. To be academic all-state, you need to have a GPA of 3.75 or higher. You need to have been an all-district football player, and you need to have been a good citizen, a good role model, and also been involved in other sports throughout your high school career. These guys do a wonderful job in the classroom, wonderful young men to be around, and are going to do successful things later on. Thank you, guys. All right, we will probably have, as we wrap up here, there will be other things that will come out, all-state awards, all Hawkeye, there's a variety of other things that will come out, and we'll post any of those things when we get them. Reminder, if you are a guy that won any of those all-district awards, I'm going to, right when we're done here, I'm going to run and grab your medals real quick, because I don't want to have any more medals accumulate in my office. So, once again, okay, a huge thank you to the guys for a wonderful season. Thank you for really doing all the different things you do. Thank you for coming out tonight. I know it's Thursday night, it's getting late, some of you need to go to bed, or do your homework or something like that. But appreciate you guys coming out. Parents, once again, thank you for an outstanding season. Your support, it means a ton to me personally, but also means a ton to your sons, the rest of the guys that are standing up here. Have a great night. Look forward to next year.